What's up, guys? How we doing?
Tim, how would you assess the offseason that Arion Carter had, especially coming off of injury, and what are your expectations for him as you enter fall camp?
Well, Ben, we're really excited about AC. He's had a really good camp. And when I say camp, in terms of the strength and conditioning, and obviously some things that we're allowed to do. The biggest thing that I'm really excited about, if I'm being honest, is just his growth mentally. He's always been a really good athlete, but he's worked really hard to, to help the game slow down, so to speak. So, he'll obviously have a big role. Obviously coming out of camp, we'll decide exactly what that is, but we're really excited about him. He showed enough last year as a freshman to get us going, and, obviously missing spring, but just picking up after spring in terms of the fall, I think he'll be ready to go.
Now that you've gotten to spend a couple months with him, just what's your impression on William Inge, and what is he going to bring that linebackers union?
Yeah, Coach Inge is just a great guy. I knew he was a really good football coach. I had a chance to coach against him. I met some other different places, and I love the way his linebackers work. So he has not disappointed, in terms of how he teaches, the way the kids have gravitated to him. It's kind of what I expected. I think the biggest thing, though, that I really enjoyed is just the way he mentors the kids. He's just a really good guy. I think our guys are really taken to him, and I'm really excited to see what the product looks like this season. But if the spring and the early side of the summer is any indicator, I think those linebackers will be ready to go because of his leadership.
What are some of those new guys in the secondary, Jamal McCoy, Jacoby Thomas, some of the others kind of brought to that group that's obviously turning over a lot of playing experience?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with McCoy. He had a really good spring. I think, again, some of the early summer feedback that I've gotten, he's really done a great job. He's not the most vocal guy, but he's working toward it. So I'm excited about him. I think McMurray, is another corner, who transferred in. I think he's done a good job. He's really a smart kid. He played inside a little bit at Temple, and I know he has the ability to do that a little bit for us as well if we need to. So from a corner perspective, super excited about those guys. Jacoby Thomas, again, he's kind of that, bigger presence, that we're looking for, very physical. He showed that in the spring. I think as the game starts to slow down for him a little bit with our playbook, I think you'll be able to see some of the athleticism that we saw on tape at Middle Tennessee. So we're excited about all those guys. We think we have a really good group of talent, based on some of the younger guys and some of the transfers that we brought in. So I'm super excited to watch these guys work in camp, and I think these guys got a chance to be really good for us.
Coach, best thing you've done while you've had some downtime recently?
Oh, wow. I don't know, my wife might say it hasn't been any downtime, but we had a chance to go to Puerto Rico. We enjoyed that. My cousin was renewing her vows, so that was good. You try to, spend quality time with your family when you can, but to be honest with you, football is never too far away. So, it was a lot of film watching, a lot of preparation behind the scenes, but, we did enjoy Puerto Rico. And I appreciate you asking that. I think nobody else cares about that type of stuff, so thank you.
Coach, right here. Coach Apple's just in here talking about maturity, saying it's kind of the most mature group of newcomers he's had. You mentioned the transfers there, obviously, but a guy like Boo Carter, have you seen that out of him as well since he arrived?
Yeah, Boo's great energy all the time. He's a guy that is always going 100 miles an hour. So, yeah, I think as he continues to, grow in our program, I think he'll continue to get a little bit more mature. We definitely like, what he brings from a football perspective. He's a kid that works hard, wants to do well. So, yeah, he's shown some maturity, but I think you'll see even more, once he gets his feet wet a little bit.
Coach, back here. You talk kind of specifically about the secondary, those newcomers. Just what excites you, though, the most about having a young group that you can kind of sculpt?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just the overall talent, I know we can run. We have some guys that can pick them up and put them down. So, I think the overall speed that we have in that room is exciting. I think anytime you get a chance to develop, we're coaches, teachers first. So, it's always great to be able to put your hands on them and watch those guys develop and grow. So I think that's what I'm most excited about, to watch these kids, reach their full potential. And I think we have some toys and some guys that we can work with, and I think we'll see that this season.
Back here, Coach. on the platform.
There you go.
How would you describe the way James Pierce impacts the game, and how much confidence does it give you knowing you've got him up there?
Yeah, I think James, he made great strides from his freshman to his sophomore year, and I expect him to make even better strides this year. But anytime you got a guy on the edge that can affect the game the way he does, he has a really good first step. He's put on good weight. He's got stronger. So, I tell the defense this in general. We're always trying to create one-on-ones when we can, and, it's their job to win the one-on-ones. And, I know that James will have the ability to win the one-on-one, which obviously gives us great confidence as a defensive staff. So, I think the sky's the limit for him. He's super smart. He works at it. We're expecting him to have a really good year.
Coach, one of your new guys is Jordan Ross at that same position. Seeing him over the summer, what were your initial impressions of getting him in your program, and maybe what are your expectations for him going into his first
Yeah,
year?
we're super excited about Jordan. The biggest thing, to be honest with you, was just his size. You see those guys, during the recruiting process, and I think our strength program has done a tremendous job of getting them stronger, getting them leaner. So, I just love his size. He's a kid that doesn't say a ton, but it's nothing to walk through through our football building and see him somewhere watching tape. So I know he's a kid who wants to be great, and his work ethic aligns with that. So we're excited for him. I think, again, as he continues to power through the playbook and take what he's learning from the playbook and apply it on the field, I think he has a chance to be able to impact this program and help us in some way.
What are your thoughts on Jackson Moya to this point in the offseason he's had, and how ready he might be?
Yeah, Jackson's another, transfer that we got. And I tell you, the thing that I like about Moy is just his versatility. He's big enough to be able to play the nose for us, but he has enough twitch, to be able to play the three technique for us. So really smart kid. Football is extremely important to him. Our defensive line is extremely deep, and I think he's going to be a guy that's going to put himself in a position to be able to help us this season as well.
Coach, just personnel-wise and depth-wise, you guys have obviously come a long way since you first got here. But specifically on the defensive front, can you address just how much better and deeper you guys are up there, and how much of a luxury that is in this league?
Yeah, it's everything. If you check my track record, we've always tried to build it from the front to the back, and Tennessee is no different. So. No, it's exciting, because as you mentioned earlier, we did not have that luxury when we first got here in terms of our depth, but we've been very deliberate, with our approach in terms of recruiting, to make sure that we got enough big guys up front. It's still a big guy league. You got to have guys up front that can help you stop the run, but you also have to be athletic enough to be able to come off the edges. So we have a lot of guys that, if they continue to do what we think they can do, that'll fight for playing time, and that's definitely a luxury, not in just league, but, any league. So I'm super excited for those guys. I love the talent. I love the depth. Just can't wait to watch them perform this season.
Jeremy, back. Oh, I'm so sorry.
When you're evaluating the star position, what do you look for from a player who plays that spot? And is there a preference for you? Is that a safety or a corner, or does that even matter?
No, that's another great question. Different places I've been, sometimes they've been more corner-ish. Some places it's been more hybrid. I think we've had the luxury here to do a little bit of both. But that position is extremely important. We ask them to do a lot, from a coverage perspective. But they have to also be great blitzers. They have to be able to get off blocks. So, we've really worked hard, between, JT. You talk about Christian Harrison and obviously Boo Carter, but if I'm being honest, we've worked everybody a little bit at that position because it's super important. We lost two within a span of a week, a year ago, and, we don't ever want to be in that situation again. But, those three guys I mentioned are very versatile in our defense. They're good athletes, they're tough guys, and they also obviously have some coverability. So, but yeah, it's probably one of the more challenging positions on our defense, and I'm super excited about the three guys I just mentioned.
Okay, take two. Coach Jeremiah Thielander, he obviously saw a lot more playing time or an increased level of playing time towards the end of last season. He's spoken a lot about his confidence increasing every day. Where has he developed the most to continue that confidence?
Yeah, you can see the confidence all over his play. He's always been a smart kid. He's always been a work-hard kid. But we saw him make a lot of plays in the open field last year, and, playing our defense, you're going to be in those situations, and, he did a really good job of making the plays he needed to make this spring. So, I've always been a fan of him. He's a coach's kid, super smart, works at it. So, I'm really anxious to see, how he picks up where he left off in the spring and takes it and puts it toward this fall camp. So, no, he has a chance to really help this defense and impact it in a positive way.
Coach, back here in the back. Keenan Peely, how much has his injury lingered, if at all, and how much does he understand your scheme in his second year in the defense?
Yeah, now, KP is really smart. He's played a lot of football. He's a tough kid. I'm pretty sure he's healthy at this point, and even if he wasn't, he wouldn't tell us. So he's a kid that's, always trying to do things the right way. He's worked on being more vocal. Like I told him, everybody respects him. He's a hard worker. It was tragic to miss him last year, but, he worked really hard in the spring, had a lot of great tackle opportunities, which is awesome for us. So, I know our trainers wouldn't put him out there if he wasn't healthy, and, he's been out there a ton. So we're excited about him. Like I said, a great leader, and for a big guy, as I mentioned earlier, you have to be able to play in space in our defense. And, he's shown that he can make plays in space, and we always knew he could quarterback the defense. So we're anxious to see him as well.
You mentioned Jalen McMurray a little bit earlier, obviously coming from Temple, a smaller D1 school, but it seems like his work ethic really meshes with this Tennessee program. What have you seen from him so far? Yeah, I would echo that. He works really hard. Like I said earlier, he's a really smart kid. And I know he came from a good program who worked extremely hard as well. So. No, he fits our culture. Like I said, all the kids love him. We got a lot of competition in that room, but you would never know. Those guys are all buddies. They all hang out, and that's refreshing as a coach, because we want guys to compete at a high level. We want guys to want to be the first one off the bus, so to speak. But at the same time, we want to have that brotherhood where everybody roots for each other, and he fits that mold. He's a heck of a worker, and the kids love him.
Tim, with Christian Charles, he was a guy that started as a freshman, and then injuries have kind of gotten in the way the last couple of years. Where do you see Christian right now in the secondary, and do you anticipate him being a factor back there? Yeah, he's kind of the X factor. I'm glad you asked that question. He's just had what you may consider just some really bad luck, since he's been here. But, he's never had a bad day. He keeps his head up. He works. He's always been a kid that's really smart and versatile. I'm watching the tape against a couple of opponents, and I forgot he played corner for us. So, we got him at safety right now. I think he can play, any three of those spots. We mentioned the star position and being able to cover, being able to, be physical and tough, and he fits that narrative as well. But he's definitely going to start off on the hash for us right now. Like I said, we have a great room. Guys are competing. I don't think anybody feels like they've won the job to this point, and he'll have just as much as a right to earn the job as anybody. So we're excited for him. Knock on wood. He'll stay healthy this year, and he'll be able to reach his full potential as well.
Coach, back here, how do you feel about your depth at the Leo position, and with all the depth you do have up front, is there any way to be able to get those guys on the field together in some packages or anything like that? Yeah, I feel really good about our Leos. Josh Joseph, he's rotated in with James a ton last year. Josh, I think some people forget he started, well not started, but he played a ton as a true freshman. Had a solid year last year, but I think he'll be the first one to tell you, he knows there's still meat on the bone. So, we're excited about him. We mentioned Jordan already. That room, honestly, is really deep. There'll be some situations where we'll be able to get both of them on the field, no different than what we did last year and the year before that. But, I think the competition in that room will continue to push greatness. I think it'll give, James a chance to continue to grow, as Josh is with him. And obviously we mentioned Jordan. So we just got a lot of guys. I think, as we continue to grow with those guys and work through it, I think even Caleb Herring, was a guy that did a lot of really good things in the spring as well. We're anxious to see, his development. He did play a little bit for us as a freshman last year. So, it's obviously the deepest position we've had, the deepest Leo position we've had since we've been here. And it needs to be. We asked a lot of those guys, no different than when I asked about the star. We asked those guys to be great, coming off the edge, but those guys asked to be able to drop, play man in certain situations. So, we think we got the guys to do it, and we're expecting a lot of great production out of that room.
Tim, obviously, with all that competition back there in the secondary, back here, with all that competition back in the secondary, is it comforting to know that there's such a kind of a deep group of wide receivers on this team and different kinds of receivers that can push those guys and give those guys different tests?
Yeah, iron definitely sharpens iron. I think, our guys recognize that in the recruiting process. We know we'll have, tremendous receivers year in and year out, and we feel like we're building the back end the same way. So the more those guys can challenge each other in practice, the better it'll be for us in the long run. It's a league that has a ton of great wide receivers, and the fact that we get a chance to go against some great ones in practice only helps us.
Do you see playing Tellender some at the outside, or primarily is he your inside back?
One more time, I'm sorry.
Tellender, do you see?
T-Lander?
T-Lander,
yes, sir.
excuse me. Playing him some outside, or is he primarily your Mike back?
Yeah, I mean, that's yet to be determined. I think right now, he's playing inside for us. Depending on the call within our scheme, sometimes our linebackers need to play on edges. So I think he's shown enough versatility in the spring that we have great confidence we can, but I think we'll find out more, obviously, as we get into this fall practice.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.